What is going on? It's your boy JeezPlayingAgain. I covered the Sacrifice and Shield Chain build, and now it's time to cover the Paladin meta build. Currently, the job that tanks during Helheim, Sagebook, Endless Tower, and everything else is the Paladin. So in this video, I'll be covering the tanking aspect of a Paladin, specifically Devotion. Also, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every little bit helps me continue making videos for you. Now with all that out of the way, let's get started. Tanking as a Paladin takes timing, positioning, and attention. Before the release of Paladin, Lore Knights took on the role of tanks, but now as a Paladin, the tanking role actually became a reality. It has become a lot easier and more efficient to tank, as Paladins are the original tanks in Ragnarok. Like my other guys, I'll be breaking this down into 4 different sections: skills, stats, equipments and cars, Beer's Course, and metal. Make sure you follow through the entire video, as I'll be giving out tips and tricks throughout the way. Now let's start with the first section. Skills. I'll move through the swordsman skills quickly. As a swordsman, the 3 main skills you need are HP recovery, provoke, endure. The other 10 points, you can put them into bash for an offensive ability or anything else. Now as a crusader, these are the main skills you should go for: Faith, Demon Bane, Heal, Shield Charge, Guardian. Faith will be your most important skill in this tree, as it will increase your HP a set amount per level. Demon Bane is for the extra defensive stat against undead and demon type monster. This skill will help especially if you're party grinding in Glassheim. I took Heal for the extra sustainment and survivability. It's also compatible with some equipments, which I'll be talking about later. Shield Charge is a prerequisite for the Guardian skill, which you will need for another skill in the Paladin tree. This leaves you at an awkward spot with 2 skill points left. I put them in the riding skill, but if you want to put them somewhere else, go for it, I won't tell anyone. And finally, let's go over the Paladin skill set: Tenacity, Devotion, Reflect Shield, Gospel, Salvation. Tenacity increases your HP by a set percentage per level, which will give you more HP to help tank damage. Devotion is the bread and butter of this build. You can link up with one person in your party and take 100% of the damage on their behalf. This skill will help the most important person in your party to survive any situation. The only problem is that the damage calculation isn't reduced depending on your gear. It all depends on the gear that your party member has on that you are linked to. That is why having both high raw HP and defensive stats are a must with this build. The raw HP will help you eat up the damage taken from Devotion, while your own defensive stat will help you eat up the damage from the mob or the boss you're fighting. Reflect Shield is also a must with this build. It helps keep physical attackers off of you and still produce damage to physical attacks if they do attack you. Gospel has some of the best buffs in game. Too bad it's random, or only 75% of your party can get it. As for the Salvation skill, this skill will help keep monsters off the player that you link your Devotion to. It's basically an automatic provoke, and it helps keep your VIP alive a lot easier. Now that we finish up with the skill section, let's go over the stats that I went with as a tank build. The main stat you need is Vid, which will give you HP and defensive stat. Next, I decided to go for Int, which will increase my heal, SP, and magic defense. Since Int increases your heal ability, it should help you survive tough situations. And magic defense is important to have, since a lot of equipment gives more defense than magic defense. I felt as a full tank Paladin, investing in other stat points felt unnecessary. You won't need strength or agility, as you won't be dealing any heavy damage, and no point putting them in dex or luck either. So to me, the most logical place to put my points in is Vid and Int. Now let's go over the equipment and cards. The best set to go for as a tank Paladin is the Gobni set. Each piece gives outstanding Vid and HP stats, and make sure to start with the armor first. The 10% increase in max HP is an incredible start when tanking, and once you have all 3, the set bonus will give you a 10% elemental resistant increase. As for shield, switching between the Sacred Shield and the Valkyrie Shield will be the best. Since Sacred Shield gives you an insane amount of raw HP, using the shield when using Devotion is a must. Valkyrie Shield increases your elemental resistance by 20%. This is the perfect shield when you are facing enemies with property damage. Make sure you are aware of your situation and use the shield that benefits you the most. But if you have to choose one shield, I will go with the Sacred Shield first. As for weapon, the Excalibur will be the best choice as a tank Paladin. This weapon gives you additional Vid as well as a 5% chance to autocast Angels level 5. And at certain refinement level, you gain bonus stats such as Refinement level 6, you gain an additional 150 max HP. Refinement level 10, you gain an additional 5% max HP. And finally, at max refinement, you gain a 5% resistance against physical attack. Now let's look at some headgears that will benefit you the most. These are just some examples on what type of headgears you should be aiming for: Mushroom Hat, Drooping Cat, Tejina Hat, Halloween hat, octopus hat, sheep hat, Devoruchi eye patch, Devoruchi backpack. Finally, let's go over the accessories. I will go over the level 85 and 95 accessories. For level 85, Gold Ring is the best choice as it will increase your HP the most, as well as additional physical attack resistance at refinement level 10. As for level 95, there's a set you can go for, and that is the Dark Knight belt and glove set. When using this set, there's a 30% chance of gaining additional physical attack resistance as well as additional healing for 15 seconds. Or you can just use 2 Dark Knight belt instead if you don't care for the set bonus. Now that you know what type of equipment you should be aiming for, let's talk about what type of cards you should be farming for. I will break down the cards in different sections. So for Headgears, I went with Lave Omai, Gaiath. The Lei Omai gives you additional Vit as well as fire property resistance. This is useful for high wizards, and Gaiath gives you immunity to fear, another status condition that you should be careful of. For weapons, I went with Fabri. Since you're not doing any damage, I decided Fabri card would be the best deal since it gives you HP as well as Vit. For shield, I went with Tharafrog, Sting, Arcklaus. Tharafrog gives you demi-human resistance, Sting gives you magic attack resistance, and Arcklaus gives you physical attack resistance. And those 2 cards also gives you a 5% increase on your max HP. For armor, I went with Peko Peko, Mark. The additional HP from Peko Peko is a lot, and Mark gives you immunity to frozen status. For garment, I went with Eclipse, Mist, Orc Baby. Eclipse gives you Vit and increases your max HP at refinement level 10. Mist gives you poison property resistance. This should help you survive those pesky assassins. And Orc Baby gives you a 15% resistance to neutral property damage, which is great for those cheesy Azura Strike champions. You can also go for Ragnarok if you want, but since Orc Baby is much easier to kill, I decided to say Orc Babies instead. For shoes, I went with Verit, Sohi. These 2 cards gives you the most HP as well as some SP or SP recovery. And finally, for accessories, I went with Muka, since this card will increase your max HP and HP recovery. I chose to go for cards that gives you raw HP instead of property resistance, since devotion doesn't take into effect of what resistance you have, but the person you are devoting have. Now for the last section, let's talk about Beerus cores and medals. I'll talk about the medal part first as this is always the easiest. I decided to go for Guardian medal first, followed by Wisdom medal. These 2 medal gives you the most HP. After that, I will start investing in the defensive medals. As for Beerus cores, the 2 main cores I decided was the best for this type of build are Strengthened Faith core and Starry Devotion core. Strengthened Faith core is going to be one of the best cores to use for any tank build. This core gives you additional X amount of HP per 1 level of your Faith skill. So if you have a level 6 gear for this, you will gain an additional 300 HP per 1 level. That is a total of 3000 more HP, which is really good. As for Starry Devotion gear, you receive X% reduced damage from the person you use Devotion on. This is especially helpful if you're using Devotion on a glass cannon like High Wizards or Snipers. And that is it for this guide. I hope you found this guide to be somewhat helpful and learned a few tips and tricks along the way. If you have any question regarding Devotion Paladin, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll be uploading more gameplay videos showcasing all of these builds. At the moment, my main focus is the shield chain for grinding purposes and PvP. Once I complete my set, I'll be showcasing you a fully powered tank paladin. So please be patient with me as I will continue to work hard to bring you the best gameplays and guides. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support you have given me, and I hope you continue to support me from here on out. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video.